Hey guys, no kids or family helping me out today, but I want to talk to you on this video about four of the required documents for the AP exam. You have a possibility, you need to know these because one of the two questions on the AP exam is the argumentative essay, and you will have to take at least one piece of evidence from a document. You don't know what that document's going to be yet, but they could cite, they could give you one of these as options. And you have a possibility of using both of your pieces of evidence from documents. So pay attention, make sure you know your 9 documents. Here are 4 of the documents we're going to look at today: Federalist 10, 70, 78, and Brutus 1. So let's start off with just real quick recap. Federalist and anti-Federalist. You should all know this. Take a look at this slide. But remember, the Federalists were a faction, a group, after the Constitutional Convention that were arguing for ratification of the Constitution. Remember, after the Constitution is written, it's not law, it's not official until it's ratified. So the Federalists are arguing for ratification. You have Madison, Hamilton, and Jay that write the Federalist Papers that appear in New York. And 3 of the things we'll look at today are the Federalist Papers. But the Federalists are arguing that this new Constitution is good for the country. It is going to protect your liberties. It is going to create a stronger nation and a better nation. And you can see some specific arguments here. Anti-Federalists are going to argue that this is too much power. They don't trust this new Constitution. Many of them like the Articles of Confederation. They would rather defer to smaller governments like their state governments. And they don't trust an executive that they could compare to a tyrannical king like we just got out of the war with England. So they don't really trust what's happening with the Constitution. Now, there are some anti-Federalists that are like, yeah, we kind of like it, but we really want a Bill of Rights. So the anti-Federalists kind of are on a spectrum of how much they dislike the new Constitution. But Federalists are arguing for it, anti-Federalists against it. All right. The first document, Federalist 10. We talked about this towards the beginning of the school year. And Federalist number 10 talks about factions. And James Madison says, you can't get rid of factions. They're inevitable. You can't take away liberty. If you remember, we talked about the cure is worse than the disease if you get rid of factions, but you have to control the effects. And he's arguing this new government under the Constitution will control the effects of factions. So he says, look, this government is going to be a republic. And you should all think of a republic as a representative democracy. And you're going to have people that will make decisions for you, but you're going to elect these people, and these people represent the public. And there are going to be so many representatives, it's going to be a large republic. You have people coming from the states. It's a big country, lots of representatives. So ultimately, if you have a dangerous faction, there are so many safeguards created with this large republic that it will protect your liberties. It will protect minority rights. And in Federalist 10, Madison's going to argue that large republics are better than small republics, but we have this republic that will protect against the harmful effects of factions. So that's Fed 10. I probably should have put Brutus next, but remember, as we talk about this in a little bit, Brutus is going to argue that large factions are bad. All right, Federalist 70. We talked about this not all that long ago. Federalist 70 was written by Alexander Hamilton. And if you know Hamilton, you should all know that Hamilton wanted a lot of government power. He wanted a strong president. Remember, he argued at the Constitutional Convention that we should have a president for life, lifetime president, which sounds a lot like a king, right? So in Federalist 70, Hamilton argues that we have to have a president that is energetic. Energy is an essential ingredient, a leading ingredient in good government. So Hamilton's going to argue that we have to have an energetic executive. And he's arguing that that's a good thing. That's important. You have to have a leader that has energy in order to have a strong country. So there are 4 ingredients he gives that are part of an energetic executive. One, and I messed this up here, but you could see it. I'll fix it on the PowerPoint here when I put it on there. But one is unity, right? Unity. And that means there's only one executive. He makes that point very, very emphatically. one executive. If you have too many executives, if you have more than one executive, they're all going to blame each other. No one's going to take responsibility. One executive, unity. Second, duration. They have to be there for a period of time. You can't have someone that's not going to be there for all. They have to be there for a period of time so they're established. They can enact policy. They can have some authority. Duration. In the Constitution, that's 4 years. 3, adequate provision for support. That just means you got to pay the president enough so they're not taking bribes. You got to pay him enough. 4, competent powers. You have to give the president powers, authority. They have to have a certain amount of status and power. One power specifically you could mention that's part of that competent power would be the power of veto. So energetic executive, that's Federalist 70. Federalist 78 is the one about the judicial branch. And you should automatically think about that, 78 judicial branch. And in 78, Hamilton argues that the judicial branch is the least powerful branch of government. So all of you people out there, all you anti-federalists that are concerned about the judicial branch, you're worried about this lifetime tenure of justices, just relax. Okay? As Aaron Rodgers says, RELAX, relax. Okay, relax. It's not going to be a big deal. They're the least powerful branch of government, but they are essential. Okay? They're essential to our government because you have to have them as a check. Now, the big quote you should remember from 78 is, I have it right here, the judiciary, on the contrary, has no influence over either the sword or the purse. It may truly be said they have neither force nor will, but merely judgment. So executive branch is the sword, legislative branch is the purse, and judiciary branch provides judgment. And that's important judgment, because if you don't have the judiciary branch and judicial review, then the legislative branch is just going to judge themselves. And that's not a good thing. So this is an important check. Judicial review is important. Now, you should all know that judicial review isn't initially recognized when the government starts here after the Constitution is ratified. It's not till Marbury v. Madison that that's going to take place. But Hamilton is calling for it right here. And he's saying, look, judicial branch is important. Don't worry about it. They need to be independent, lifetime tenure. They don't have the power of the sword or the purse, okay? Last but not least, Brutus, okay? Make sure you see this here, so I'm going to reduce my picture. So Brutus is the anti-federalist paper that you need to know. And this could very likely pop up in the argumentative essay, so make sure you understand this. Brutus is arguing that this government's going to be too powerful. And in Brutus, the anti-federalists are saying large republics will not work. In a large republic, it's going to become tyrannical. The representatives aren't going to care about the people, nor will the representatives know the people. It's too big. They argue that there's never been a large republic that's worked. So no good examples in history. Not going to happen. You need a small republic or pure democracy. That's where the people are more sovereign. If you look at small republics, that might refer more to the states, right? You can trust the states. They're smaller. The whole country, large, too big. So too much large republics not going to work in this government. So also, if you're familiar with the concept of pluralism, this idea that interest groups and factions are all going to be competing for power, and that's going to take away from what the people really want, the will of the people. That's also a problem. So, and last but not least, Brutus mentions that the new Constitution just creates too much power, and they specifically reference a clause you should all know here, and that's Article 1, Section 8 at the end, the necessary and proper clause, aka the elastic clause. The government can stretch their power too much with this clause. And Brutus and the Anti-Federalists, they're just not comfortable with this. They do not want to ratify the Constitution, and in Brutus, they're arguing that this Constitution is creating a government that's too strong, that's too tyrannical, and it's a large republic, and it's just not going to work. So I hope that helped. Summary of those 4 documents, you need to know that. There's lots of other videos out there. I've got a couple optional ones on the assignment. They're all good, but make sure you know the Federalist Papers, Brutus 1, real quick review, fill out the Google form as your assignment. Take care. We'll talk to you later.